This man went to space as a delivery man, fell in love with the commander, and created life where no life was supposed to be created. How did it all happen? Billions family, this story will wreck you. And you won't regret a single second of it. Let's get into it. It starts with a car accident. A man named Gong Ryong just finished work and is heading home when a car smashes into him from behind. He gets out furious, ready to go off. Then he sees the car. A Rolls Royce, and then a beautiful woman who looks like an angel. His entire expression changes immediately. The speed at which his anger transformed into a polite smile deserves a scientific study. But before he can say a word, he notices something worse than the accident. The woman inside is bleeding. She's having a miscarriage. Gong Ryong is an OBGYN, an obstetrician, so he scoops her up and rushes her to the hospital. He's in full doctor mode, preparing for emergency surgery. Until she takes off her sunglasses. And he realizes she's Go Yayan, the only daughter of the most powerful business tycoon in South Korea. He doesn't flinch. Doesn't flatter her. Just speaks gently and tells her to trust her doctor. She's put under anesthesia. The surgery is performed. The pregnancy is removed. A few days later, men in black storm Gong Ryong's office. They drag him into a car. Inside, Go Yayan's father. The chairman. The most powerful man in the country. And he is furious. He accuses Gong Ryong of severing his family's bloodline and demands he take full responsibility. That night, the chairman's men drag Gong Ryong to the seaside. To throw him into the ocean. Standing at the edge of death, Gong Ryong doesn't beg. He says plainly, for the safety of the mother, he would make the same decision again. The chairman spares his life. But fires him on the spot. From that moment, no hospital in the country will touch him. Then Go Yayan appears. She saw everything, how her father treated him. She tells Gong Ryong she wants to compensate him. Gong Ryong wants nothing from her. She's the reason his career is gone. But Go Yayan doesn't wait for permission. She grabs him and kisses him. Right there. Confesses she likes him. Gong Ryong rejects her, shocked and confused. But then one night, drunk at a small bar, he lets his guard down completely. Go Yayan is there. One thing leads to another. And she follows that night by telling him directly, she wants to marry him. Gong Ryong, who thought he wasn't worthy of her, somehow stops refusing. The broke, blacklisted doctor is suddenly the future son-in-law of South Korea's most powerful family. Make that make sense. But the chairman has other plans. He spends 700 billion won sending Gong Ryong into space on an 8-day mission, officially to research sperm genetics in a zero-gravity lab. That night, the rocket launches. Seconds after takeoff, lightning strikes the spacecraft. Gong Ryong, a man who has never left Earth before, nearly goes into shock. The ship holds. They break through the storm. Once they reach orbit, Gong Ryong sees Earth from space for the first time. And immediately gets catastrophically space sick. He starts vomiting. Hallucinating. He sees what looks like a corpse floating outside in a spacesuit. Then his airway blocks. He loses consciousness. 7 minutes. That's all they have. Commander Eve springs into action. She braces her foot against the elevator wall and performs abdominal thrusts on Gong Ryong in zero gravity with everything she has. The blockage clears. He wakes up. The first thing he sees is Eve, composed, capable, and now limping because she injured her toes saving his life. He caused her a medical emergency while she was busy saving him from his medical emergency. Iconic. Eve has her own story. She had a romantic relationship with a colleague named Dong Ma at ground control, but their missions kept them apart. Now, alone in space with Gong Ryong, something begins to shift. Gong Ryong notices her toe is still bleeding. He tries to stitch it. In zero gravity. He cannot thread the needle. He tries again. Still no. Eve watches him struggle for a while, then calmly snatches the needle from him and threads it in one attempt. She was injured and still outperformed him. The audacity. The excellence. She hands it back for him to do the actual stitching. There's no anesthetic in the kit, it's gone missing, floating somewhere in the cabin. Eve tells him to proceed anyway. Gong Ryong hesitates. Eve offers to do it herself. That pushes him. He stitches the wound. Professionally. The whole procedure goes perfectly. Afterward, the missing syringe floats right in front of his face. He blows it away gently and sneaks a glance at Eve. Then quietly mutters to himself that Eve's toes are really beautiful. This man is in trouble and he doesn't even know it yet. Meanwhile back on Earth, Go Yayan is anxious about Gong Ryong. And her ex-boyfriend, space scientist Kong Su, is calling from somewhere in the universe saying if Gong Ryong doesn't treat her right, he'll take her back. After docking with the International Space Station, Gong Ryong distributes the gifts he brought, ice cream for everyone. But the vanilla one is special. Inside it, hidden at the bottom, is a human egg. This is the real mission. The chairman's son is infertile. His daughter-in-law Min Jiang had proposed that in zero gravity, damaged sperm can recover, so she wanted Gong Ryong to secretly fertilize her egg in space. Gong Ryong initially refused. Even when the chairman got on his knees. But Min Jiang, a pediatrician who desperately wants to be a mother, pleaded with him personally. He was moved. He agreed. The egg was hidden in the vanilla ice cream. Now in space, Gong Ryong hands out the flavors carefully. And Eve picks up the vanilla one. Gong Ryong panics and asks for it back. Eve gets suspicious. She knows he only declared 5 ice creams and vanilla wasn't on the list. He lies. She doesn't buy it. She puts the container in the oven to melt it. He tries to grab it. She pulls out a gun. A gun. In space. Over ice cream. This show has everything. The melt test comes back 100% non-toxic. Eve hands him a spoonful to eat. He eats it nervously. Then Eve throws the cup in the trash. Gong Ryong gasps, pulls it out, tears open the bottom. The egg is gone. What he doesn't know yet is that Kong Su, Go Yayan's ex and a scientist aboard the station, already got to it. Kong Su now has both the egg and the chairman's son's sperm. Go Yayan, learning all this from Earth, finally understands, her father used Gong Ryong as a delivery man. A courier. Nothing more. Gong Ryong confronts Kong Su. Kong Su sends him tumbling across the space station with one gesture. Then mocks him. Poor nobody. You're not worthy of marrying into wealth. She and I were always meant to be. Kong Su isn't just a scientist, he's heir to a global banking empire. But Gong Ryong is not someone who quits. He still has a mission. That same day, an alarm goes off. One of the lab mice is attacking the others. Ground control orders Eve to euthanize it. She can't bring herself to take a life in space. Then the mouse has a heart attack. Gong Ryong performs open-heart surgery on a mouse. With his hands. In zero gravity. Kong Su stands nearby throwing sarcastic remarks. Gong Ryong ignores him, presses on. He sees himself in that tiny struggling creature. He and Eve take turns with chest compressions until the heartbeat returns. Eve bursts into tears of joy and hugs Gong Ryong tightly, calling him the most wonderful doctor she's ever seen. She gives him permission to call her by her first name. His heart is doing something it shouldn't be doing. Meanwhile, while everyone is distracted watching lottery results on screen, Kong Su slips into the lab. He normalizes the sperm in zero gravity and fertilizes 7 eggs. 6 develop successfully. He calls the chairman, thrilled. The chairman, relieved and delighted, begins to write off Gong Ryong entirely. But Gong Ryong still has 3 eggs Kong Su doesn't know about. He sneaks to the freezer, can't open it, doesn't have the code. So he devises a plan. He runs on the treadmill until the motor overloads and sparks. The emergency system cuts power. All locks, including the freezer, release automatically. He retrieves the eggs. Hides them inside his portable music player. The alarm clears. Nobody suspects anything. He's overjoyed. Then comes the spacewalk. Eve and Kong Su head outside to repair a damaged solar panel. While they're out there, Kong Su's glove develops a problem. Ground control orders him back immediately. Eve stays outside alone to finish the job. Then something goes wrong. A tool slips off the rail and drifts into space. Eve reaches for it. Slips. Her body begins drifting away from the station. She grabs the solar panel with her tether, but the panel pierces her glove. Her oxygen starts dropping. The team inside cannot reach her. Eve's oxygen is running out. The damage to her glove keeps growing. She is going to die. Gong Ryong reads Eve's farewell letter while this is happening. In it, she writes about her foster father, an American astronaut who died during a spacewalk saving a crewmate. He left her a letter that said, "In the vast universe, all life is equal and miraculous." That shaped everything Eve became. Her own letter is entirely about protecting others. The injured crew. The mice. Even reminders about eating chili paste and managing bodily waste in zero gravity. The woman is dying and she remembered to write instructions about bathroom habits. She is built different. The last thing she writes, no matter what, Gong Ryong must stay inside. She wants him to value his own life. If he does that, she promises to buy him a drink when she returns to Earth. Gong Ryong reads to the end. Then opens the hatch. Puts on a spacesuit. And goes out. No training. No clearance. Half his body dangling in open space. He shouts Eve's name until she wakes up. She points him to the tether. He grabs it. Pulls her back. They make it inside before the oxygen runs out. Eve wakes up after oxygen therapy. The first image in her mind, Gong Ryong flying toward her in open space. Then she slaps him. As a commander, she cannot allow a civilian passenger to risk his life in space. She bans him from appearing in front of her before they return to Earth. Gong Ryong begs and apologizes. Eve turns her back. But when she's alone, she opens the door quietly to peek at him. He's still standing there. She closes the door. And her heart races. Kang-soo confronts Gong Ryong next, threatens punishment for the unauthorized spacewalk. Gong Ryong tells him he already retrieved Minjiang's eggs. Kang-soo reveals the 6 fertilized embryos are nearly complete. His experiment succeeded. Gong Ryong is deflated. But that night, drunk on secret astronaut liquor, he walks to Eve's room. Asks if he can like her. Eve says no. He's engaged. She has a boyfriend. But she's restless after he leaves. She quietly peeks out again. He's still there. Gong Ryong tells her, when he returns to Earth, he's ending things with Go Yayan. He asks for a chance. Eve tells him flat out he isn't as good as her boyfriend. Gong Ryong leaves crushed. Eve shuts the door. Her heart is pounding so loud she can practically hear it herself. Back on Earth, Dongma, Eve's boyfriend, video calls her. He didn't know the call connected. Eve sees women's underwear scattered across the room. Tahiai, a former space commander and Eve's colleague, is in bed with him. They begin getting intimate, thinking the call dropped. Eve watches. Eve's emotions collapse. Gong Ryong appears. She takes her rage out on him, cursing all terrible men. He thinks she's talking about him and tells her to stop. Then Tahiai, the same woman who just betrayed Eve, calls her pretending nothing happened. Reminds her to fulfill her commander duties. Eve says nothing. Just stares at the phone. The silence of a woman who has seen too much. Gong Ryong makes his move. He enlists the remaining astronauts, Mina and Sung Jun, using a secret 5 trillion won lottery ticket Mina found that belongs to Kang-soo as leverage. Santiago, a foreign astronaut who is also infertile and deeply wants children, volunteers immediately. Together, in the middle of the night while Eve sleeps, they hold Gong Ryong's arms and legs steady in zero gravity while he attempts the embryo procedure. First egg, the suction tube pierces it. Gone. Second egg, the sperm slips outside. Gone. 1 egg left. He needs to inject the sperm perfectly into the center. Just as he positions himself, Eve appears. She'd woken up to share good news about the mice. Mina stalls at the door. The others hide Gong Ryong inside a spacesuit. Eve suspects secret drinking. She's about to inspect. Sung Jun stops her. Confesses to the drinking. Apologizes. Eve leaves. Gong Ryong emerges. Takes a breath. And on the final egg, with absolute stillness, he injects the sperm perfectly into the center. 1 egg. 1 chance. Done. The embryo develops. Gong Ryong calls Minjiang with the good news. Minjiang was at the edge of giving up, hospitalized, unconscious the day before. This call brings her back. The chairman sees Gong Ryong as a hero. But Kang-soo overhears the call. He's stunned. Gong Ryong did what he could not, without a microscope. Then catastrophe. A piece of space debris collides with the station's orbit. Emergency evacuation. Astronauts scramble for the escape pod. Gong Ryong rushes back to the incubation tank to retrieve the embryo. It automatically locks. Kang-soo appears. Offers a deal, he'll find a power source on the escape pod for the embryo if Gong Ryong hands it over afterward. Gong Ryong agrees. But while Kang-soo casually packs his bags, Gong Ryong is still wrestling with the locked tank. The escape pod fills with astronauts. Eve notices Gong Ryong isn't there. The countdown begins. Ground control forces the separation. The escape pod detaches. Gong Ryong is left alone in the main cabin. Debris is hitting the station. Communication cuts out. He knocks on the sealed compartment door. Nobody can hear him. Then the escape pod door opens. Eve. In a spacesuit. Coming for him. She promised ground control she'd bring him back safely. She climbs the outside of the ship as space debris tears through the area around her. She ducks. She holds on. She survives it. Reaches the main compartment. They look through the glass at each other. She smiles. He's terrified for her. She enters. He flies across the cabin and hugs her, tears running down his face. I'm sorry. This is all my fault. Eve just smiles and reminds him of his confession, all the beautiful things he promised her on Earth. He looks at her with everything in his eyes. She takes off her mask. He kisses her in space. She can't hide it anymore. Then the escape pod explodes. Oxygen leak. Their way home, gone. They're trapped. Solar panels burned. Emergency power estimated at 2 days. Eve shuts down every non-essential system. The station goes dark. Temperature drops to -20 degrees Celsius. 30 hours trapped. Emergency power almost gone. Eve cuts communication with Earth to conserve the last of their energy, keeping only the oxygen generator running. Her final words to ground control, I will not give up. Please don't abandon us. Silence. Ground control scrambles. Dong-ma, still consumed by guilt and love for Eve, demands to pilot the rescue ship himself. Tahiai opposes. She doesn't want him to die. But the situation is desperate. She finally agrees. Robotic arms are sourced from Spain through Santiago's connections, paid for by Kong Su, who steps up when it counts. Dong-ma boards the rescue ship. The countdown begins. The rocket shakes violently on launch. One robotic arm falls off. With only one arm, he has a tiny margin for error. He makes it to the station's orbit. Skillfully locks the robotic arm onto the station. Gets inside. Finds Gong Ryong first, barely conscious but alive. Then follows floating underwear to find Eve. Opens the cold-resistant sleeping bag. Eve and Gong Ryong, completely undisguised, holding each other naked for warmth. Dong-ma stares. Then pulls himself together. He lifts Eve onto the rescue ship. Both survive. Back on Earth, media questions fly. Dong-ma admits publicly he went to space to save the woman he loved. Reporters ask Gong Ryong about the engagement to Go Yayan. They ask how 2 people survived freezing temperatures in a dead space station. The truth is, Eve had found spare oxygen tanks. 10 minutes each. Barely enough. In those final moments, Gong Ryong had made her promises. Hot noodles together. A kiss every 15 minutes. Growing old side by side. The cameras can see it in their faces. Everyone knows. Go Yayan smokes alone. Kong Su sits beside her quietly. Takes the cigarette from her hand. Notices the burn mark on her arm from putting out a kitchen fire to protect Gong Ryong's 3 mothers. He speaks gently. He's always been there. She's starting to notice. Dong-ma visits Gong Ryong in the hospital, helps him to the bathroom, then pivots and tells him to stay away from Eve. Go Yayan is your woman. Eve is mine. Gong Ryong doesn't fight it. Afterward, he slips an embryo hidden inside a sock into the chairman's hand. The chairman understands immediately. It's alive. But Gong Ryong ends things with Go Yayan. Tells her his heart was never hers. She cries in the stairwell alone. Kong Su watches but doesn't approach. Just feels the weight of it. Go Yayan refuses to accept it. She schemes. She calls his mothers. She tries everything. Kong Su keeps pursuing her, remembering the first time they met at a temple, how she challenged the Buddha, how she made him laugh and feel seen. He loves her. He just never knew how to show it the right way. Then Gong Ryong's phone is recovered from the damaged main cabin. An unsent message, confessing exactly why he went to space. The embryo. The tycoon family. Everything. Ground control moves. They storm the hospital during the implantation surgery. Dong-ma leads them in. Threatens to drop the embryo. They take him away anyway. He takes all the blame. Lies to protect Eve. Begs Dong-ma to return the embryo. Calls it a life. But Eve makes the decision. To protect Gong Ryong, the 3 astronauts, and the Korean Space Agency from international scandal. She destroys the embryo herself. Gong Ryong watches the result brought to him. He tells Eve, the moment she destroyed it was the moment she destroyed him. Eve says nothing. She carries every bit of the grief silently. Because protecting him is more important to her than being understood by him. That is the 1 billion IQ sacrifice nobody in this story fully sees. Eve didn't destroy the embryo to follow rules. She destroyed it to save the man she loved from losing everything. The fallout is total. Gong Ryong's medical license is revoked. 2 years probation. The engagement is dissolved. He becomes the public face of unethical space research. He drowns himself in alcohol. Works small jobs at the Three Mothers restaurant. Speaks to no one. Min Jiang, recovered and grateful, offers to take him to America for a fresh start. He shakes his head. He's scared to deliver babies now. The thing he loved most in the world, he can't face it anymore. Then Eve, now back in space on a repair mission, discovers she is pregnant. 12 weeks. Healthy. Gong Ryong's child. She can't return to Earth normally, the atmospheric pressure could kill the baby. She contacts ground control. Only one person is qualified to help deliver a baby in zero gravity. Only one person knows the space environment and obstetrics both. Gong Ryong. They call him. He goes to space a second time. When Eve sees him float through that hatch, she cries. Just from the sight of him. He performs surgery on her immediately. Stabilizes her condition. Then tries to convince her to return to Earth with him. She refuses, coming back means risking the baby's life. He refuses to leave without her. In the end, her blood pressure spikes from anxiety during re-entry attempt. Ground control pulls them back. They're staying. Gong Ryong trains the astronauts for weeks. Eve goes into labor. He delivers their child in zero gravity. A baby boy named Bail, meaning star. He is born safely. The universe witnessed it. But Eve's pelvis fractures from the effort. The damage is severe. She knows. She looks at her baby and knows she may not make it back. Gong Ryong stays by her side without leaving. He doesn't know how serious it is. She doesn't tell him. A year passes. Kang Soo establishes a space fertility clinic, using what he learned in zero gravity to give hope to infertile couples worldwide. At the press conference, he confesses publicly to Go Yayan. He wants children with her. A future with her. She listens. In space, Bail turns 1. Gong Ryong stays. He refuses to leave until he finds a way to bring Bail home safely. Despite knowing what awaits him on Earth. And then Eve is gone. Her life quietly ends in the universe she loved. Gong Ryong scatters her ashes into space. Toward the stars. He believed the universe was the path between life and death, where life never truly ceases. Bail grows up on Earth. Brings his own children to meet their aging grandfather. Gong Ryong sits quietly, old now. Still holding on. The cosmic cycle turning. Life continuing. The way Eve always believed it would. Wait. Don't leave yet. Because what I'm about to say in the next 30 seconds might be the most important thing you hear today. Billion's family. This film taught me something I will never forget. Eve gave up everything for a man who didn't even understand her sacrifice. She destroyed the one thing he cared about most, to save him. And he called her a murderer for it. Think about that. How many people in your life are protecting you in ways you can't even see? How many sacrifices have been made quietly, with no credit, no thank you, no understanding? The people who love you deepest are sometimes the ones who hurt you most, not because they want to, but because they're carrying something too heavy to explain. Before you write someone off, ask yourself if you've been the one too blinded by pain to see the love underneath it. Eve named her baby Bail, Star. Because even in the darkest, coldest, most impossible place in the universe, she still believed light was possible. Be someone's star. Everyone please tell me your thoughts in the comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to join the family for more videos like this, where every story leaves you with something real. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel grow. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.